Back in my bag, yo. Conscious. ISO. Down back in my bag and I gotta brag, I do this shit for real. When we was down and we had nothing, we had to share a meal. We put the shit in overdrive with no steering wheel.
Welcome to Speed Week, and today is the first race, Athens Twilight. My first race in the pro field. I'm excited, nervous, I have no idea what the course looks like or how long the race is, but we're just gonna try to have fun, not crash, and maybe not get dropped.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are going in 3, 2, 1, Prima the first lap!
Alright everyone, hello and welcome to another race recap. This is my first pro race, my first race with, these big teams that I see on TV all the time. Legion, American Cycling, Miami Knights, NCL, also the Disruptors, everyone was there. So it was really good for me to test myself. That was the goal of this, was to see how I would do, how I would navigate the field, how I would finish, how just everything. So as you guys can see, it started very, very fast. I've never done a race this fast that was just like completely all out pretty much the whole time. And as you guys can see, we're only a lap in, and there's already huge gaps. Right here on the left is Hagen's Berman rider, who, for those who don't know, that's a development pro team. So a very strong guy. At the end, he ends up doing a really good move, but see in the beginning, even himself is back here, is just trying to hold good lines. This was my first time doing the course, so I had no idea what the good lines were on the corners. Usually cornering is something I'm really good at, and I end up getting better throughout the day, but that first lap I was just trying to figure out what the safest way for me to get around was. So that's the end of the first lap. I'm feeling great, I'm doing huge power numbers, navigating the field really well in my opinion. So now it's the first time that I'm repeating corners. So I saw there on that corner number 1 that there was a huge crack on the ground, and pretty much every time now that I go that corner, I make sure to avoid that. And just those little things that you learn throughout the course. And then of course, this is something that also happens a lot in fixed gear criterium racing, is that you turn the corner and then it's just full gas to the next corner until you stop pedaling and then turn. But obviously in fixed gear you wouldn't stop pedaling. Anyways, you see I'm surrounded by very big name teams in the US, and I'm just kind of trying to hold my own. I put a little timer on the top left corner there so that you can see how long I last in this race. I'm not gonna cut it, I'm just gonna show you. So by the length of this video you can already kind of see where this is going. But so we're here on the second lap. I'm really happy with how I'm doing location or just position wise, how I'm following the wheels, how I'm taking the corners. You see behind me, it's very stretched out. So again, this corner you see here, I noticed that hole again, and I just take a line that you wouldn't usually want to take going that wide, but my number 1 goal is to avoid crashes, and then number 2 is to just stay in the race as long as possible. And so here on this third lap now, you see that it's becoming harder for me to come out of these corners doing the kinds of power that everyone is doing. So you see here I'm being followed by a Texas Roadhouse guy. Texas Roadhouse is one of the best crit teams in the country here in the US, and they're just super strong. So I've watched these guys for a very long time, and I just feel honored and I don't know, overwhelmed by the fact that I'm racing next to these guys. So just again trying to last as long as possible. Now you see behind me an Austin Aviators rider coming around. 4 minutes in, I can't even hold wheels anymore. I'm doing 320 watts, 330 watts, which for me is close to 6 watts per kilo. And then we get to the crest of the hill, and I'm cresting it at 400 plus watts, and it's not even close to enough. I'm able to use the corners to recover and gain some space as I figure out the best lines to take said corners. So that was something I was really stoked on. I realized that I could take it a little bit easier on the straight, so do this really strong initial push. So see here, I'm doing 550 watts, just starting the straightaway, and then I'm still losing space. But I realized that I can make up space getting to that corner, so I'm letting riders go around me. Well, I'm not letting them go around it. There's nothing I can do about it. But riders are going around me, and still I now just like brake a little later and join them back on their wheels for as long as I can. This part of the course, the narrow sides, was again a great part for me to just hold position, and then again restart the straightaways, and it's just too many watts for me. I just don't have that kind of fitness yet. Hopefully it's something I'll get to. It's something I really want to do. I want to get to the level of these guys. You see here, I opened a huge gap. There's really not much I can do about it. I'm very, very spent, and I just again float back and try to use the corners to make up as much space, or make up as much of that space I lost as possible. So now you can see my rear camera. I'm at the back of the field. We get into this back straight, and even though I put 456, almost 500 watts, huge gap opens. This guy comes around, and at this point we're 6 minutes into the race. I can't close that gap, and in my head I'm thinking, well, that's game over. I hear the motorcycle coming, and I mean, to be honest, if we look at this here, my race was 6 minutes. I was able to hang on to a professional race for 6 minutes, but then here's a huge crash. A lot of people go down, it bunches up, and when that happens, everyone behind that crash gets a free lap. So I make the most of that and follow these riders to the wheel pit, where everyone just waits for the main group, the front group, to come around, and then we rejoin them. So I got around those guys to try to get a quote-unquote starting position as good as possible. We turn over here to the left where the wheel pit is. Again, I slide myself towards the front, and now I'm just going to cut forward to when we started again. So the group comes, we rejoin on the back. That's just the rule, and everyone just goes as hard as humanly possible to tag along to the back of the main group. So we're pretty much back to where I was, 4 minutes into the race, and got a little bit of rest standing there. So now I get a second chance at seeing just how long I can last. Again, I'm making the most of these corners to save energy and make up lost ground. But then we get on the back straight, and it's just more of the same. My legs are just not there anymore. People are doing a lot of watts. I'm opening gaps. And you see people behind me are also struggling. Like, people at the back of the field are just like seeing how long they can last. And some riders come around, some close the gap, some keep going for longer, but you see that some can't come around and just are holding on for dear life, like myself. But again, we're 8 minutes in. I kind of just cut that time that we were standing there still just to see how much time I actually rode in the race. And you see guys of known teams like Automatic right in front of me, and Ride Bikes right behind me, coming around, and the race is hard for them too. It's just they're gonna last a little longer than me. This ended up being, or was, a 80-kilometer, 50-mile race, which is very long for a criterium. It's the longest criterium I've ever heard of, which ended up going for 1 hour and 40 minutes for the front guys. And I'm 8 minutes in, done, pretty much. Now we're just gonna use the straights to see, to just see what happens, and use whatever energy is left, and then use the corners to recover and make up ground again. You can see here I'm just doing my best to not lose too much space and not be in the way of those that are behind and want or can come around. But you can also see in the rear view camera that the people that are behind me can't really do much. There's a little group, there's not a lot of people, but we're just pretty much at this point established that we're kind of the second group on the road, if you will. I have no idea if there's a breakaway out the front of the main group, but it's just what's going on. So again, you saw like I got dropped from those guys, but then in the corners I was able to tag along back onto them. But then again, we get on the straightaways, and the same as before happens. These guys start coming around, and it's good for me because I get a little bit of a draft to rejoin and follow their wheels. Again, doing 400 plus watts and still not able to match. So now I'm pretty much completely at the back of the field. I believe there's one or two more guys behind me. People have already been called off the course. So the way that works is basically when the lead moto catches up to you, you have to leave the course onto the wheel pit area. And you can see its light on my rear view camera soon. So that's just, there it is. That's just something that we're running from, and now I'm in this little group of 3 guys catching up to these like 2 or 3 guys ahead of us. Again, the corner coming up, I'm gonna do my best to take the best line possible and catch up to them, and they're themselves catching up to the rear of the main peloton. I'm not sure if I catch up here. I think so. With this corner, we get really close, and then the guys behind me start coming around. At this point, I'm not looking back. I have no idea how many people are behind. I'm just doing my best to hold on, and then at this point, I realize I'm last. The motorcycle comes next to me. He stares at me. I stare back at him. He didn't say anything, so I kept going. I didn't know if I was supposed to stop. I assumed the front guys were coming, but I didn't give up. I was just going to keep going as hard as I could until they actually told me to leave the course. So first corner comes, I gain a lot of space on that little group of guys. Second corner comes, and I'm on their wheels. So now we have this little group of 4 or 5 guys just in survival mode, seeing how long we can outlast the motorcycle. The motorcycle now dropped back a little bit. I'm on these guys' wheels, kind of still losing ground, but we're kind of in this little group now waiting for the lead moto. That moto that just went by is the end of, quote unquote, end of the peloton moto, and I believe that guy is going to tell the wheel pit to call us in. So we take corner 3, and then corner 4, which is the last corner to the straightaway right before the wheel pit, and there's just there's a ref in the middle of the road whistling, using his whistle to tell us to exit the course, and that's what we do. And that's that was my first Athens Twilight. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will post a video of day 2 of Speed Week soon, and I'll see you guys then.